Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines, and most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak to transportation professionals on this show, as well as my twice-a-week long-form podcast, because I only want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do, or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. It's one of the many, many reasons why I probably fly that American flag behind me every single day. A, we're the greatest nation on earth, but B, I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you live yours as well. Justin Berger, good morning over on YouTube. Tracy St. Clair over on YouTube, good morning as well. Flo, coming in on LinkedIn. Good morning to you, Flo. Thank you for tuning in here as always. Let's see here, you guys. What are we going to talk about today? Brand new episode of the podcast is available right now with my man Sean Johnston over at Green Screens. We talked about all things pricing, you guys. How do you quote loads, right? Like, how do you quote multi-stop lanes, everything else? And, you know, the reality is a lot of us, when we're getting in the door with a new customer, we're not going to get contracted rates, right? Like, we're not even going to get access to their consistent business. And a lot of it is going to be last minute spot market opportunities. And we talked about that. We talked about utilizing green screens in your operation and how you can get the most accurate price out there to earn your customer's business, to kind of get that up and running on that one truck at a time mentality out there. You guys, it's a really good listen. It's available right now. As always, you know, if you guys have any questions about them, let me know. You know, again, I'm very fortunate to have them as an advertiser on this show, but I actually use them inside of my business as well, you guys. And legitimately, all the freight that we run is won on the green screen pricing out there, you guys. So that's available right now on iTunes and Spotify. Let me see here. Sunny Sharma, good morning, freight movers. Keep grinding all. And Uma, good morning to you. Thanks for tuning in, Uma Taylor. Corey Buchan, good morning, all. He's over on YouTube. I want to talk about something here. First and foremost, and a lot of this came in. This is not really freight related at all, but I think it's important to bring this up. First and foremost, Ed Milet dropped a brand new podcast this morning with Andy Frisella. It's the best hour and a half listen you will have all week, all month, maybe even all year. I'm very, very fortunate to be a member of the Arate Syndicate, which is their group that they're in. And, you know, talking about the realities of building a business and everything, it was a lot. It was a lot. It was a heavy episode because it resonates a lot with me. And, you know, there was a specific part in there that they were talking about, you know, God and faith and everything. And, you know, it's one of those situations where, again, you guys, like, this isn't about trucking, but I think it's very relative. And, you know, because over my journey of building up my company and building my business and in this podcast and everything that kind of comes along with it, you know, it's been a challenge, right? And I've relied on my faith and in a lot of those challenging moments to really get me through, you know, and in just so you guys are all aware, I'm a man of faith. I believe in God. God is very real. And alternatively, you know, so is evil. So is the devil. So is all of that. And, you know, I'm bringing a lot of this up because it's been brought to my attention a lot here that nobody can find my stuff anymore. I can tie it back directly to when I started openly talking about my faith at scale, how ironically around that time, all of my content started to get suppressed. LinkedIn is the number one culprit in that. Ever since I started talking about that, like 7 months ago, all my stuff has been throttled, exponentially throttled. I get messages all the time from people asking why I don't create content anymore. They can't see my posts anymore. They can't do any of that. And I was wondering why, right? And I'm 100% convinced that it is because I openly talk about my faith. I openly talk about my relationship with God, and I openly talk about my belief in freedom in the United States of America, which are counterculture to a lot of what's going on right now. Um, and I'm bringing all of this up, you guys, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to stop. And I came to this realization this morning, and it is one of those situations where, in listening to that podcast, it came to me, and I've recently, in having actually feeling God's presence in my life a few times. And one of those moments hit me again this morning. And that's why I'm openly speaking about this. And, this, at the end of the day, this can cost me advertisers. I'm not saying that this will or anything like that. But, when you're building a business and especially, a podcast and everything that's out there, your advertising is tied to your engagement in your downloads and everything that's out there. And, so that very well could, in the long run. And I'm not saying it will. I have great advertisers. They know who I am. They know what I'm about and everything. But like, this is what, has gone on. And I haven't openly spoken about it because I don't know why, but I'm openly speaking about it now. It's very, very evident that every time I speak about my faith and I speak about God, nobody gets to see my content off of that. So at the end of the day, rest assured, I'm not going to stop talking about this. And Micah, 100%, I appreciate that. And I'm not going to stop speaking the truth at all. The social media warlords out there who hate free speech unless it aligns with a certain narrative that they're all trying to push, let them. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop bringing this up. I'm not going to stop speaking my truth and my realities because I truly feel this to my core, you guys. I was put on this earth by God to utilize my voice to help elevate others and to stand up to a lot of this stuff, to put information out there to help people. And that's all I'm trying to do at the end of the day. And if there's some algorithm out there, or there's something going on in the social media world that they don't like it, and it's very evident that it's true, because I haven't changed anything in my approach to all of this, and I'm not going to change anything in my approach to all of this. So, again, I felt very compelled to speak about this today, and it's one of those things I don't have the right words to properly articulate everything that's going on emotionally inside of me right now with this. But rest assured, I'm not here for the fame or anything like that. I'm here to literally provide value, to speak my truth, and to help people. And that's it. And that's going to be me openly talking about my faith. That's going to be openly talking about my relationship in God, and that everything that I've been able to accomplish in my life is because of God's glory. So that's who I am, you guys. And I'm not going to stop doing that. Right. So at the end of the day, if that costs me downloads, if that costs me engagement, that it doesn't cost me anything in the end, because I will never deviate away from my true self. And that's that. So I just wanted to lead in the show with that. I know it's kind of counter to what we always talk about here on transportation and on this show and everything. But at the end of the day, this is who I am as a person. And I feel like it is very, very crucial for everybody who takes the time out of their day to come in and listen to this show and these podcasts, to know who I am as a man and what I stand for as a person. So, with that being said, let's jump in to some topics here. And Bill McIntyre, good morning, everyone. He says, watching over on YouTube, Micah, God is greater than anything that comes at you, Chris. I agree, Micah, and thank you very much for that. And Justin, thank you as well for that, you guys. And at the end of the day, that's all we're here. We are literally we're changing the world, you guys. And with all of the stuff that's going on in this world right now, we can't be afraid to talk about the reality of how things are out there right now. I truly feel like we are at the crossroads of between good and evil in this world. And it takes good individuals, men and women, to stand up and speak their truth and stand up for everything that should be right in this world. And that's what I'm going to continue to do no matter what. Uma, I appreciate that very much. Thank you so much for your support. All right. With that being said, let's get down into some headlines here. And at the end of the day, All the links to these articles that I will break down, I will put up onto the Freight Coach YouTube channel, as well as the Coffee with the Freight Coach audio only replay, which is going to be available on iTunes and Spotify almost immediately after the show here. First article we are going to break down is from FreightWaves, and it's Will Shippers' Confidence Change When Carriers Regain Pricing Power? Will 2024 bring a definitive end to the freight recession? That's certainly the hope of the freight market at large. Many carriers and brokers hobbled through 2023, and those still operating are anxiously awaiting any sign that pricing power is swinging back in their favor. There are some indications that's starting, but not yet widespread on a dramatic basis. The first quarter, after all, is historically slow for freight. Adding to the fact that the final months of 2023 continued to be tumultuous for the trucking and broker sector, highlighted by some bankruptcies. And these factors have led to a present environment in which shippers continue to stand out as the vanguard of possibility. The Q1 Freight Sentiment Index reveals a surge in shipper confidence, climbing to a record high of 13.58 from 9.79 in the preceding quarter. Note that the data only goes back to Q4 of 2022. So we're only looking at 12 months of data based on that, FYI. And that data was in a shipper's market from a pricing perspective. So take all of that into consideration here. But the swell in shipper confidence poses a question. Will the optimism continue into the market recovery, or could shippers be caught off guard? I don't think any shipper is ever going to be caught off guard with this, right? And a lot of that is because they are more plugged in to what their freight is being moved at than anything, right? And like I was talking about these last couple of weeks, which I had mentioned before, again, I got to toot my own horn here, before any data company came out and said anything about the market was increasing, tender rejections were increasing based on what I was experiencing inside of my business. And again, you guys rest assured, anybody who's watching this or listening to this in the future, I actually work in the industry. I'm actually bidding on freight literally every single day. I'm prospecting shippers. I'm talking to them directly every single day, right? So from my perspective, they are very aware of how this market operates better than most people do. Okay. So nobody's going to be caught off guard when the market inevitably flips. And I think these last couple of weeks really, if anything, expedited what that market shift is going to look like for a lot of people when major weather events happened, right? And there's a lot of similarities these last couple of weeks between, I think it was 2016 when that polar vortex happened, but that was like a 30-day market of like effect. It affected the market for like 30 plus days. And this one was only like a week per se. So it's going to be interesting. If there is another weather event like that, I think the next one that happens this year is going to be the catalyst that tips everything over, and it's going to tighten capacity. It's going to raise pricing and everything else. And it goes on to say that the mood of brokers is showing signs of improvement in Q1, advancing to 9.96 from 8.78 in spite of the issues with fraud that the transportation TIA is working to call attention on a national level. The freight sentiment index are represented on a scale between negative 100 and a positive 100. Ultimately, the freight market experienced a lot of recalibrating in 2023, but it does seem to be well positioned to bounce back as 2024 progresses, and demand remains strong last year. Of course, it's not all positive. Got to throw that in there. Optimism is tempered by those persistently low tender rejections in the U.S. truckload space. Logic holds that this year we'll see an upward movement on that front, but it's difficult to predict exactly when capacity will right size with demand. Furthermore, regulatory shifts impacting owner-operators out there. And then this quarter's freight sentiment index will go on there. And I will say this, right? Like, again, I'm going to bring that out there because I work with large shippers. All right. I see tenders coming out onto the spot market. I know how this works, right? And for those of you who are wondering what they mean by what is tender rejection. So a lot of these large enterprise shippers, you have your contracted rates in place if you fill out your RFP, and then you have the spot market rates, right? Those are the ones that if you get in the door and you complete the RFP, you might get awarded a couple of lanes, but you're going to be able to stay in to bid on the spot market. That happens when everybody rejects their tenders and then it goes out to open bid, right? And that is going to be the clear indicator out there. And I was talking about that over these last couple of weeks, that spot market was running heavy. And I will definitely keep you guys all posted on this when that spot market starts to run heavy, because a lot of people went in and bid their RFP strategy this year of going low still. Okay. There might have been like a little bit of an increase in pricing, but not much. They still went in low. So when the market flips, everybody who has contracted rates are going to start declining those tenders at scale, because they went in there and they bid dirt cheap to try and gain the volume, and it's not going to last throughout this year. So when that happens, that's when tender rejections are going to spike, and then that's going to trigger possible rebids at a lot of shippers and everything else, so they can kind of capture that and minimize that market shift, right? So that's why I was saying that shippers are way more dialed into the pulse of where the market is than this article ultimately led in trying to state what is going on. The shippers know exactly what's going to happen, and they can tell as soon as there is a massive spike in rejections and everything else. And again, this is why I talk about never stop selling. Okay. Never stop prospecting, never stop following up with anybody that you're talking to out there, because it is only a matter of time, right? Statistically, everything happens in 18 to 24 month increments. Arguably, we're coming up on the 24-month mark here about midway through this year. Or if you really want to get conservative on that, you can say we're coming up on the 18-month mark at about midpoint of this year. And both of those scenarios would say this. So if you're going to look at a way of how are things going to generally recover, how are things going to look? Again, like I've said before, I don't think there's going to be a cataclysmic spike in the market, but you are going to start seeing a gradual increase. It could be sometime around this summer. But again, like, this is why you need to be out there selling nonstop right now. Okay. You need to be out in front of as many people as possible, because at the end of the day, who are they going to go to first when the market flips, right? Who are they going to look to next when their current network rejects everything and they're sitting there with 10 shipments? They're going to go to you. Are they going to go to you, the person who's been following up, even if it goes without response, following up the whole time? Or are they going to go to the person who reached out one time here over the last 12 months? Like last year, you guys, all of that time and all of that buildup of you, if you've been following up, if you've been out there actively selling, that will pay off at some point this year. Keep that in mind, even as the frustrations, and I feel all those frustrations, right? You guys, like, at the end of the day, I'm out here selling with you all. I'm out here prospecting with you all. That's what I feel every single day, right? When you go back and you're looking at the last 12 or 14 or 15 months and you've put a ton of effort out there and you haven't gotten a ton of return, that is about to change as long as you do not quit. All right. It is very challenging right now, but the reality is it's always going to be challenging. Okay. And this is how it actually is in a real freight market, is what you're experiencing right now from a sales perspective. For all my carrier friends that are out there listening to this, no, the rates are not always going to stay this way. They are going to increase again before you know it. It goes on progress amid pressure on the broker sentiment. And then let me see here. Optimism, yada, yada, yada. Again, I'm going to get on to the next article here, but that article was kind of talking about the freight index, and it was from FreightWaves, excuse me. Will shippers' confidence change when carriers regain pricing power? I think shippers always have confidence in the market because ultimately they control it. They are aware of the pulse of the market and how things are. And then just another quick little shout out to an article here. It was the JOC that I saw first who talked about this. JOC.com. I'm not going to really read the article, but it says surge in U.S. truckload spots to ebb as U.S. storm threat lifts. And, they're out there talking about this, and, and it's very crucial to pay attention to this stuff, right? And then especially when you're seeing it in the moment, okay? Because we all know, and this is why I've been telling you guys all, pay attention to the weather patterns out there, because that is where a lot of these opportunities are going to come up here over the next couple of months, okay? Not a doubt in my mind. The next opportunity is going to come in the form of probably a storm, because Q1 is historically slow. you guys. It is historically slow from a freight perspective, but that does change anytime there's inclement weather out there, and that's where your market opportunities are going to come from. But yeah, so they had put an article out there, the JOC, kind of talking about dry van posts were 11% lower than a year ago out there, and then temperature controlled loads posts leaped 25%, i.e., everything goes freeze protect in those moments that are normally out there in the event of that the product is bottled water or whatever that looks like. So that article a little bit was from the JOC. Next article we are going to break down, and I did want to bring this up because I was sent this information yesterday from a friend of mine, and it is kind of involved with the market here. And then it was that line haul rates have increased across the board right now. So van rates, this is net fuel, are at $1.73, which is up 3 cents. Reefer rates are up as well, 5 cents, and then flatbed rates are up net fuel 2 cents out there. And that total loads posted increased by 11% in total. And then the load to truck ratios rose for vans and reefers that were out there. And a lot of this data that we see coming in, you guys, is completely indicative of what happened a couple weeks back and last week and everything. And it's still going to shake out. So it's like, again, if you're looking out there from a pricing perspective, right? Like, what does this mean for my freight rates moving forward? I realistically think this week, or at the latest next week, rates are going to be back down to what a normal Q1 level is. So pay attention to that, you guys, because if you're out there and you're like, I'm looking at prices right now and I'm trying to move these loads and rates seem higher than what they normally are, there is still always a hangover from that inclement weather event that blanketed a large majority of the country, but things should even out here if they haven't already as of today. So just keep that in mind as you're going out there. Third article, or technically second article, is going to continue to be a topic, I think, throughout the year, and it's about cargo theft. This is from fleetowner.com. Cargo theft is at an all-time high. During the 2022 and 2023 holiday, 56 incidents were reported between December 23rd and January 2nd. Well, Q4 in 2023, the numbers aren't in yet. It's time to look ahead and see what the industry can expect regarding cargo theft. And that cargo theft is not slowing down, said Scott Cornell, who is with Travelers Inland Marine. The industry shouldn't expect cargo theft to slow down soon. CargoNet reported a few months back that cargo theft is at a 10-year high. I think it's at an all-time high. He had said Cornell has more than 27 years of experience with cargo theft, working on the team since 2005. Since 2011, they've recovered more than $90 million in stolen goods. According to Cornell, it's important to remember that information from CargoNet and other sources only refer to sample sizes of its reported cargo theft. And then trends to watch at the end of 2023, 3 cargo theft trends, the types of theft, what was being stolen, and where it is happening. So it looks like truck stops, parking lots, and then warehouses and DCs were the top 3 areas of where things were happening. So again, how are you talking to your drivers, whether you're a broker or a carrier that's out there? You know, what are you doing to secure those trailers that are on top of it being sealed, right? Because especially if you have a high value cargo that's out there, make sure, and again, this is one of those things that I learned in hauling high value cargo early on in my career. And it was all energy drinks, okay? Because you got to look at it like this. Just because your cargo that you might be moving might not be of high value per se, it's got easy street value, right? They can take that stuff and they can unload it. Bottled water, a lot of food stuff, makeup, shampoo, stuff like that, it can be lifted and liquidated really, really quick. So what are you doing with your shippers to ensure that nothing gets past you, right? And I think, like, if you're talking about that, like at truck stops and stuff, what are they doing to secure those trailers, right? What are they doing to ensure that nobody can get into those trailers? Because, again, the second you think you're good, that's when things start to escalate. Excuse me. The number 2 one was parking lots. When you're talking about that and when you're looking for that safe and secure parking, Is it gated? All right. Is there a security guard? Is there lights? Is there cameras? You're going to want to ask a lot of these questions about how the security of that truck is, especially if you're parking it there for a weekend or whatever that looks like. You guys ask questions about the facility itself. And then number 3 is warehouse and DCs. I personally think that a lot of this theft that happens is inside jobs. I truly do. I think organized crime pays off dock workers or pays off somebody to let them know when certain shipments are being moved out of certain warehouses. I mean, at the end of the day, you guys, it doesn't take a lot to find out which buildings are shipping out which product, right? And a lot of that to me all came to light a couple years ago when those pictures of in Los Angeles were out there of somehow on that entire train that was going, they just happened to pop the one that had the TVs in it. Like, that's not a stroke of dumb luck. That is organized. All right. And from my perspective, that's what leads to a lot of this stuff. I truly do. I think that the majority of it is an inside job. I can't prove it. It's just all speculation, but I've been in this industry for quite a long time. You can't tell me that they just happen to know what trailers have what unless they have inside knowledge, unless they pay off some people out there. But this stuff has been going on forever, right? I.e., the famous group of individuals who ran large cities out east for a very, very long time, right? And then it goes on to say the top targeted commodities, household goods, pay attention to that, food and beverage and electronics. Those are always going to be the things. And then here's furthermore, you guys, because a lot of these theft rings and stuff like that, they are all over load boards. Okay. I'm not saying that they're out there just like the people who are in the carriers who are double brokering and scamming, who have all those warehouses, they're looking for you to post your commodity. Okay. Stop posting your commodities inside of your load postings. Okay. That I have dealt with some friends of mine who were doing that. And ironically, they had 3 loads stolen out there. And I'm like, and I was asking them questions. I'm like, were you doing this? Were you doing this? And I'm like, did you post the commodity in the load posting? And their eyes all went wide open and their skin, and they were white as a ghost. They're like, shit, that was it. And that's exactly, again, what little steps can you do and can you implement today to see a difference out there? And that's a big thing, you guys. It really is. And then getting that information over to your shippers. And a lot of it is working in conjunction with your shippers. Okay. Do that. Find out what processes they have to thwart a lot of this stuff, because they do. And if they don't, bring some of this stuff to them and come up with a plan in place to protect their business, you guys. It's probably the biggest way you can separate yourself out there in the market. And then obviously talking about, some other things, energy drinks, liquor, hard seltzer, motor oils, tires, solar panels, footwear, clothing. Again, you guys, use your head. What is quick to liquidate? Use that. And then from that perspective, come up with a plan, bring that plan to your customers, you guys, and do that, you guys. Because cargo theft, as long as the economy is still shit and inflation is up and people's, credit cards are getting maxed out, desperate times call for desperate measures. Okay. And this is going to happen as long as our economy is still falling apart at the seams. All right. So keep that in mind. What can you do to protect your customers' freight and your relationship with your customer and your business? And most importantly, you guys, what can we do to help protect these carriers, right? What tips can we give out there? Because as a broker, that is one of the greatest values you can add to this market is assisting your carrier partners in some of these instances, because at the end of the day, we're all behind a computer, right? Like, you want to find safe and secure truck parking, hit up my man, Anthony Petit over at FinPark. Okay. He can do all of that for you. He can set all of that up. We're at a computer as a broker. Again, what can you do to help out in that situation? But that article, fleetowner.com, talking about cargo theft. And that will be it for today. Robert Cowton, what is up? He says, keep doing the hard things nobody else is doing. Breakthrough with your prospects, progress towards goals. And he said, great tip to not post commodity. Appreciate that, brother. But that will be it for today, you guys. We'll be back tomorrow. I got a couple more guests coming on this week. And then as always, Friday is Q&A day. No matter what, you guys, I appreciate you all for your support. Thank you so much for continuously coming back and sharing the show and getting this message out there. I appreciate you guys all so much. And as always, if you guys got value and you're not subscribed, subscribe to the show, you guys. Share it out there to your network, because at the end of the day, if you saw value, your network's going to see value as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.